afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting propaganda review with me, your host, Imperial Dane, Master of Propaganda, in this case, Master of Review. We're here covering Wolfenstein, the Old Blood, the most recent game in the Wolfenstein series after the New Order, made by the same developer, Machine Games. Now this is a slightly smaller package. It's a $20, €20 or whatever sort of equivalent you have in your local economy game, and as I'm sure you can see, some of you can figure out, that's not really quite the same price as the original game. And also note, of course, this is actually a standalone game, so it's basically you don't even need the New Order to play this, by the way, just a quick heads up. But again, you're probably wondering, that sounds like I'm going to get the full thing like the previous one. You're not. That's not to say it's a bad thing, and of course that's what we're all bad, I suppose, in a sense, but that's what we're going to cover here in the review. And again, ask ourselves, is it then worth the amount of money they're asking for? And I mean, you get basically a single player game like the previous one. This Wolfenstein does not bother with multiplayer, which I can't fault it for. You got the single player bit there, you got some extra stuff, but you also got challenges, a slight little new addition here, I believe, which rather puts you through some, well, different bits there from the single player campaign, the one in Old Blood, that is, sort of playing through them and sort of allowing you to score up and have some fun with that. It's an alright experience, but it's at the same time, you know, nothing really particular special. There's the usual combo up bit, but nothing sort of really spectacular. For example, not like a Bulletstorm, for example, another excellent game, by the way, one I can also heartily recommend, but where there really was a lot there to work with in combos and challenge modes. So, I mean, it's a nice addition, but I mean, it's not going to be what you're going to be buying the game for, that much, I can tell you. And I mean, I've played it a bit, but overall it sort of lacks a bit of me. But again, you sort of like just shooting about, you know, it's, I suppose, a good extra little addition. But of course, there's the main game itself. And let's have a look at that. So, Wolfenstein, the Old Blood. I mean, if you already played the New Order to a certain extent, you'll know what it's all about. It's all about shooting Nazis. I mean, you know, Wolfenstein's very much sort of a pulp shooter. It's not, you know, trying to be Call of Duty or Battlefield. What it's trying to be is a fun shooter. I mean, it's not Bulletstorm fun, which is just completely crazy, but, you know, it's, in that sense, good fun. So, I mean, already here, I mean, it's not going for some, you know, deviate greatly from that. There's some new tricks here and there, some new bits, some new bobs, but overall, I mean, in that sense, you know, if you already played it, it's all, you already know to a certain extent what you're getting into. Shoot Nazis, find stuff, you know, learn more about the new world under the rule of the Third Reich. I mean, it does, in terms of story, of course, deviate notably in some regards. Of course, I'll get into that. But again, sort of gameplay-wise, you can dual wield most weapons. There's a few new here. There's a sort of awkward-looking, FG-42-looking, in fact, bolt-action rifle. You've got a rocket pistol of all things as well. And you got some shotgun action as well. That's looking slightly different. You got perks you can sort of, you know, unlock through doing different stuff, which can unlock different, you know, bonuses. For example, more health, more armor, fast regeneration. Overall regeneration is a small thing. Basically just sort of caps things off here and there. You've got the good old Luger here, or whatever it's supposed to be, with a silencer. You got the mix of doing things stealthily, or all guns blazing out, whatnot. I mean, that, you know, the sections largely have a lot of that still in. So, I mean, again, if you want to get violent, you can be violent. If you want to be less violent, you can be less violent. If you want to hug, wrong game, I'm afraid. Armor, of course, still plays in, you know, collecting a lot of helmets and whatnot. So, of course, there's a bit there to go with as well. Damn it. Dual wielding. So big guns, yeah. And a bit of playing around with what kind of sort of shooting you want to do with it. So in that regard, there's a bit to work with for those curious. In terms of storyline, of course, things are a bit different. No longer, I mean, this is 1946. This is basically right before the beginning of the New Order, before the assault. You're basically here to sort of find the papers of where this Death's Head is hiding. Dun dun dun. Which, of course, for those who played in the Order knows how that works out. So you're here to infiltrate Castle Wolfenstein under the command of Helga von Sharps, and to locate the, well, papers that locate the other bits. Of course, things not going to quite work out there. There'll be sort of two villains. First, Ordiega, and in that regard, the campaign, in a sense, is sort of section up according to that. You got two sections. You got Ordiega and the Castle Wolfenstein, and you got Helga von Sharps and Wolfsburg. In that regard, you know, two sections. One 5 chapters, another one 4 chapters or parts, or whatever you'd like to consider it. Overall, in sort of terms of length, it's about 3 to 4 hours. It depends on how you go. There's also, and here's a little fun fact, in each single section, in each episode, there's a little bit of extra going on. There's a few things, for example, well, they've basically hidden the entire first Wolfenstein 3D campaign in them. You sort of have to look for some dirty, dingy-looking mattresses. Yes, I know that sounds absolutely exciting and fun. Yes, I'm looking for dingy mattresses. There's some are hidden, some less so, but basically then you sort of get to play through the entire original Wolfenstein campaign. And in that regard, that's, I think, also sort of one of the themes of Wolfenstein, of course, not overtly, but basically, you know, going through old stuff here. Of course, there's sort of, you know, archaeology, Helga von Sharps digging after something, but at the same time, you know, bits of the older Wolfenstein games are hidden throughout the game. Again, you got the first Wolfenstein, but you also got a lot of references to the Return to Castle Wolfenstein. In fact, the 2 chapters, 2 episodes, or whatever you like to consider them, are basically, I think, you know, personally, based rather on Return to Castle Wolfenstein. It's not the exact same plot, but overall the sort of, you know, again, structures, how things evolve and so on, are very much Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Of course, for those who sort of, you know, play that, of course, that might give us an idea what to expect, but at the same time, I mean, you know, I think I can already spot it since, you know, trailers showed off, but there are zombies involved somewhere. You know, they will return to Castle Wolfenstein, but it's a bit of an interesting take they do pull off on it, and there are some great scenes there. I mean, overall it does play out well. There are some parts, I think, that didn't quite work out magnificently in terms of the campaign. There are some bits that might be a bit too boring, a bit too slow. Characters, I don't know, you still sort of have to deal with some age which never really develop. I mean, you end up feeling more for the villains and understand them more than you actually do the ones you're supposed to be with, which sort of, I don't know, I mean, it's been interesting, but it's a bit awkward as well. Some issues of daddies and whatnot walking in there, it seems. So, I mean, but in that regard, again, there's a certain theme of, you know, old stuff being dug up, which again plays out with a lot of references to older Wolfenstein games and whatnot. Some more obvious than others, others more implied. But you overall mix some interesting stuff there if you think about it like that, actually. And I thought, you know, oh hey, this is actually, you know, interesting. In terms of enemies, it's more or less sort of the same cast you've sort of seen from the previous game. I mean, there's not really anything new. I think there's some marksmen, but overall, and some drones, but overall it's just basically sort of reskinned. In terms of visual, oh, there's the zombies, obviously. Some of them shoot, actually. Some of them carry guns. But overall, in terms of sort of difference, I mean, not so much visually. There's less, actually. You basically just keep encountering these guys from the SS Hauptamt, or main office, I believe. Nothing further beyond that. No sort of small, fun little variations like there was, for example, in the New Order with Luftwaffe, Kriegsmarine, Space Nazis, and so on. So, of course, there might be some slight disappointment there in it for some people. I was a bit, but there you go. But, you know, again, it was a fun ride. I found the ending to be a bit disappointing, I suppose. It wasn't quite, you know, the fight I'd expected, the sort of ending or, so, you know, solution to the whole mystery. That was a bit, yeah. But overall, I actually thought it played out well, and I actually thought the second half was actually quite fun. I really liked the visuals they pulled off there. There was one moment I actually lost, well, basically, good lord, oh right, I'm surrounded by enemies sort of moment there. So I mean, that's actually, I think, some really good stuff, and overall they pull off some really good atmosphere, and they also tried to sort of avoid, well, what I thought was a rather rubbish story in the New Order, rather sort of focus on the pulp and the Wolfenstein, and they rather pull it off well, actually. So I mean, that was actually some pretty good fun there, and overall I actually enjoyed the Old Blood quite a lot myself. And in terms of replayability, well, I'm already on my second playthrough, having quite a ball, shooting down stuff, enjoying the environment, enjoying the atmosphere, and overall it's a very well crafted experience. So in that regard, again, I can heartily recommend it. Again, the story is sort of a nice bit of pulp fun. Again, nothing spectacular, but again, it's Wolfenstein. You know, you're not playing it to get Spec Ops The Line or something. So, I mean, that's rather it. Would I recommend it? More or less, yes. Again, at the price, it's definitely not bad. Some, of course, might want to wait for a sale or reduction, and, of course, you're welcome to do that. But, again, I mean, overall, I don't think you're going to find yourself frightfully cheated again. But, of course, if you're only going to play it through once and never again, you might want to wait for a price reduction, I suppose. But otherwise, I mean, you know, $20, €20, pretty good deal for... And otherwise, I mean, well-crafted game, actually, again, and they clearly put a lot of attention, a lot of effort into it. It's not, I mean, again, for $20 you might expect something half-assed, but again, it's a very good in, and there's a lot of details, a lot of, you know, crafting, again, the whole laying of Wolfenstein, so knock yourselves out is what I would say. So hopefully this has cleared up your mind on the matter. Hopefully mine give you a bit of bloodlust for the game. If it did, you know, knock yourselves out. So this is Imperial Dane, cheers, and thank you for watching. Bye.